Hello, viewers. This is Paladin of Odin, and this is some more Magic the Gathering Online. This is another episode of the Standard Commentary series, and it looks like we've got green-white tokens versus Gruul Ramp. Tokens has a Throbbing Inspector, Duskwatch Recruiter. He just threw down a Tireless Tracker. He's attacking in now. That'll be 3 damage. Gruul will be down to 16. Gruul has an Oath of Nissa. 4 lands, one of them is a Shrine of the Forsaken Gods, so he's a little distance from getting this active. But it wouldn't take a whole lot. One more land search and he'd be there. And we know that he fired off Anissa's Pilgrimage. He only got 2 lands. There's the other one. Since they can only search for basic forests. Another Nissa's Pilgrimage, that'll get him 2 more. So that'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. So next turn he'll have 7 lands. The only problem is that if he doesn't play anything here, then he's going to be wide open for whatever green-white can throw at him, which at the moment is only 6 damage, but that could change depending on what he plays. You know, and always watching would be pretty brutal here. Alright, land gives him a clue token. Popping a clue to draw a card. So 3 mana available. And pretty much anything that he plays at this point is gravy. You know, another copy of any of these 3, Sylvan Advocate, Lambholt Pacifist, Thalia's Lieutenant, given the buff to all of his creatures. So, going from 6 damage to 10 damage. And no response from Ramp, so he's down to 6. So he has to drop a bomb in his next turn or he's dead. And he must not have had one, or not had one good enough, because, you know, a World Breaker would have been good. It would have given him a blocker, but he still would have been taking a lot of damage. So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. I can't really think of a creature that he could have played there for 8 mana that would have saved him. How much does a Great Aurora cost? I can't remember. Is it 9? Because that would have saved him. He would have had to double Kozilek's Return or Radiant Flames to kill off that board, which was entirely possible, but, you know, when you don't have it, you don't have it. Move on to the next game. Okay, turn 2 Sylvan Advocate for Ramp. Now, he is a very good creature for this deck. For a long time, they had a real problem with fast, aggressive decks, because the only thing that they could run really okay. I'm thinking he kept a 1-land hand. But back to what I was saying about Sylvan Advocate in the ramp decks. In the past, about the only thing that you would see them run was Jotty Offshoot, because, you know, it was very synergistic with their deck. You know, it's a 1-drop 0/3, so it can block a lot of early game creatures and not die. And then the landfall ability letting you gain 1 life every time every time a land comes into play, when you're playing a deck that specifically has a crap ton of land search, just gains you a lot of life, it prevents a lot of damage coming to you, and, for the long time, that was the only thing you'd see them play because there wasn't anything else that was really good enough. Now, at 2 mana, Sylvan Advocate is a very good replacement for Jotty Offshoot because it has the same benefits. It's 1 mana more, but typically that doesn't matter a whole lot. This one has 3 toughness, but it has 2 powers, so now it can start killing some of those little creatures that the Jotty Offshoot would just bounce off of him. But more importantly, it also has a land synergy where if you get 6 lands, he's a 4/5 now. And if you're running man lands, which in Gruul is not going to happen, but your man lands get +2/+2 as well. So Throbbing Inspector from Green White. First turn, and then Duskwatch Recruiter on turn 2, so he's having a pretty good start. 1 damage. Now, if Gruul can get Sylvan Advocate, I was going to say, if he can get that in play again on turn 2, that would be really good for him right here. Unfortunately, land comes into play tapped. He does get Oath of Nissa. So she could find, the Oath of Nissa could find him something helpful. And Omnath, Locus of Rage. Interesting. Not really that helpful now, but potentially that could be the bomb that he needs to win this game. But for right now, he's just stuck taking whatever damage Green-White can dish out. And as we saw in the first game, the amount of damage can change drastically very quickly. So, attacking in for 3. And passing his turn, that way the Recruiter flips to the Howler. I did kind of expect him to activate the Recruiter before it flipped, but maybe he's got the creatures in hand that he already needs. And that's one of the great things about this card, is it doesn't really matter which side is up at the moment. It is really helpful to a deck like Green-White. Do you need more creatures? Pay the mana and search. Do you already have the creatures? If he's flipped, then they all cost 1 less. So your 2 drops, like Duskwatch Recruiter, are now 1 drops. Sylvan Advocate, Lambholt Pacifist, Thalia's Lieutenant. All of these creatures are now 1 drops. Hinterland Logger. Haven't seen anybody play with this before. Throwing down a morph for 2. So it's a 2/1 that becomes a 4/2 trample. So in for another 4 damage. So ramp is down to 12. Things are really not looking good for him here. At the very minimum, if he doesn't get a blocker or some way to nuke the board, maybe Kozilek's Return, that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage at the bare minimum. Okay, Kozilek's Return, nuking the board and saving his butt. And putting Green-White in a really bad spot, because now he's on a very low hand count. Collected Company. For his sake, I hope that he doesn't brick. Oh, that was a pretty good pull. Duskwatch Recruiter and Thalia's Lieutenant. And since they both come into play at the same time, both of Thalia's triggers activate. So now he has a 3/3 and a 2/2. More importantly, his Duskwatch Recruiter can solve his low hand count situation. 3 mana, possibly find a creature. Oh, and no plays from Ramp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 land. And no spells. So now would be the perfect time to activate Duskwatch Recruiter. And he gets another land. That has got to suck. But he does have 6 power on the board right now. That's half of Ramp's life right now. So ultimately, it still comes down to Ramp having an answer. Kozilek's Return. That'll kill off Thalia's Lieutenant, but it won't stop the Howler, which is going to deal 4 damage. But if that card in Green-White's hand is something like a Dramoka's Command, he could give the Lieutenant a +1/+1, force him to sacrifice the Oath of Nissa, not like it matters, but it would save the Lieutenant, and turn 6 damage into 7. And it is! Oh! Prevent all damage, target instant or sorcery would deal this turn. So he's preventing the damage and putting a +1/+1 on. So that's 7 damage through. Ramps down to 5. This is basically his last chance. He has to have an answer for this board or he's going to die. 2, 4, 6 land. Chandra Flamecaller. And wouldn't you know it, all of his creatures are 4 toughness or less. So -4, Chandra dies, but she clears the board, and now Green-White is top decking. And haste isn't a very common creature ability in green or white. So anything that he plays, Ramp has pretty much a guaranteed turn to try and answer it. Hinterland Logger, not really the most powerful creature or really that helpful at the moment. But then again, I can't really think of a creature that would have been very helpful. 2, 4, he did have 6 lands, so a Sylvan Advocate would have been pretty good. Omnath, Locus of Rage from the Ramp deck. So things are going to get much, much worse for Green-White, and he concedes. I have to say, he had some really good answers there. That first Kozilek's Return wiped out a very good army for Green-White. And then, even though the second one was well countered by Dramoka's Command, he got another answer in Chandra Flamecaller. So, every now and again, Ramp has the answers they need to deal with a deck like this, and every now and again, they don't. So this match actually showed a pretty good dichotomy of exactly what to expect if you're running the Ramp deck versus a fast aggressive deck like Green-White. But the match is over, the video is over, so if you liked what you... Oh, I forgot. In my haste, I forgot to say the deck titles. That was Green-White Tokens versus Gruul Ramp, and if you liked what you saw, hit that like and subscribe button for me, and I'll see you in the next video.